you can't hang your hat on defense without your two best defensive guys. So does this have to become an offensive-minded team more than ever before?
A massive hit for the Phoenix Suns. According to reports, Dillon Brooks has a broken left hand. No timetable for return, but you got to assume it's going to be a hefty chunk of time. Dillon Brooks has been a borderline all-star so far this year, and now the Suns are going to be battling without him. What are they going to do?
You're going to have to rely on Ryan Dunn to try to step up. You're going to need Rasheer Fleming to probably play minutes, and you're probably looking at Amir Coffey or Haywood Highsmith having to find their way into things. Highsmith, obviously, they gave a 2 to 3 week timetable for him before he's reevaluated, but I got to wonder if that's something they reconsider at this point.
What are they going to do? They're going to dig deep, or they're going to have to dig deep, or try to dig deep. That's something that this team has been doing all season, and it kind of feels like every time you think you've turned a corner, it's like, actually, we need you to try and dig deep one more time. Hey, can you do it one more time? And adding this to the Devin Booker absence, which we found out about hours before Dillon Brooks breaks his hand, we find out Devin Booker is going to be reevaluated in a week's time. So this team's starting lineup is going to look a lot different, and something we've talked about a little bit before with the young guys, with Ryan Dunn stepping up and doing more of the things that Dillon Brooks was asked to do, obviously at a different level. Rasheer Fleming being asked to kind of do those things by committee. The big thing that's very important for those young players is to do those things with confidence. We've seen so much that those guys are a little tentative, looking over their shoulder, they're worried about getting pulled. Well, the roster is so decimated at this point, you can't worry about that anymore. You can't afford to do those things. So need guys to step up. Next man up mentality.
I mean, it's a two-way impact for Dillon, right? 21.2 points per game. That's top 30 in the league, and he's one of the better defenders in the league as well. He's somebody who's kept this team afloat without Jalen Green at times, without Devin Booker at times. And I know a lot of the times, it's like, hey, Dillon Brooks, go save us. Go getting your bag in the mid-range. Go off for 40 points, right? But the edge that he brings, I know, okay, the Suns are going to need the other wings to step up, but what they're going to need is everybody to bring a little bit more edge. And it's not that nobody else on the team has it. We've got a villain junior to our villain in Colin Gillespie. We've seen this team fight through adversity. Recently, Jalen Green, who shoots poorly from the field, still hits a buzzer beater right after a layup to put the Suns up in a double overtime game. We've seen grit from this team. We've seen the villain edge from this team. But a lot of the times it gets sparked by Dillon Brooks. And while also losing Jordan Goodwin for an unspecified amount of time with a calf injury, that spark is going to need to be maintained by every other player that actually is on the court.
I almost feel like you might have to reimagine your identity in this. In some ways, you can't hang your hat on defense without your two best defensive guys. So does this have to become an offensive-minded team more than ever before, and hope that Jalen Green steps up there? You're going to play smaller because you're not going to have a choice at this point. Dillon was playing power forward. You don't have anybody that naturally slides into that. You can try to tell me Ryan Dunn. It's just not going to be the same. Rasheer Fleming obviously not ready to be that guy in their mind. So I think this is going to come down to Jordan Ott has to do some creative things and figure out, do you rebrand on the fly? What do you do?
The thing that I think about before I think about moving too forward, we did talk about they're going to explore options for what Dillon can do and all of that, and who knows what the timetable is actually going to be. But to what you said, Espo, that stuck out to me is, if you've been playing one way for 57 games, can you briefly change for however many of these last 25, whether it's 7 or 12 or 15 of these games, to be more offensive minded? Because also you talk about what Dillon brings offensively. And what's so tough about this situation and unfortunate about it, one, is that these guys are hurt. But Steven has said it so much, I'm sure you would say the same thing if you were here right now, that what Dillon Brooks is for the starting unit, Jordan Goodwin is for the second unit. And you lose so much fire, not necessarily firepower, but firepower as well. We lose so much fire, competitive fire, guys who demand excellence and are accountable and lead with it by example and vocally. You lose that in the span of 45 minutes of game time. And now you're looking for answers. And I think more than the production, the presence is going to be so hard to replace. Who's now going to be the person that you are looking toward to lead by example, to bring some type of competitive fire? And I think that's going to be a big test. You talked about Dillon Jr., Colin Gillespie. Okay, can he do that? To what extent? How can guys fill those shoes? Though some people are going to get the shot attempts. People are going to have to make the stops or not make the stops. But that presence that can only be felt in between the lines, who is going to do that?
Dillon Brooks did miss some time earlier this season.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of the season, it just so happened to be one of the Suns' worst stretches, if not the
They're
Suns' worst
3
stretch.
and 4 this season without him.
And so when you look at the identity, the impact, the actual encore performance from Dillon Brooks, it almost feels like, okay, they're doomed. And I know none of us share that opinion because this is a team that by all means on paper should have been doomed this entire season. Jalen Green's barely played, Booker's missed extended time, Grayson Allen's missed over a month of time so far. Mark Williams is somebody who hasn't been able to play over 30 minutes per game despite his availability on a game-to-game basis. Like, this is a team that's continued to overachieve. And part of me thinks when you take a big hit like this, you can respond a couple of different ways, right? You can take the hit and then your edge is gone. Your dog is gone. Well, that spark that Dillon Brooks and Jordan Goodwin bring every night is gone. Or as a group, you look at it and you realize how much those guys meant to you. And now you know that it's on you to step up and to bring that as well. I think the Suns fall into the latter. I don't know if they can completely replicate the same type of energy that Dillon brings because he is a true one-of-one individual, but I don't think that this team is going to lose their edge. If anything, I think individually these guys are going to double down on their edge because they're going to know what they're missing and they know that they have to make up for it. No excuses.
I just wonder how many times in a single season can you do that before the well runs dry. And I hope and I think you might have one more in you with this, but it's still you're going to have to become a better offensive team because inevitably your defense is going to just become worse because you're losing Dillon for what we assume is extended time, and you don't know how long Goodwin's out for. So offensively, you're going to have to find that edge too and find a way to turn it on more than you have as of late. Also, this is a extremely, I mean, the kindest way to put it is an unideal situation. The other way to put it is a shit show. Let's be honest, when it comes to these injuries, this has been brutal. And yet this team still finds themselves in the playoff hunt, even though they've dealt with it all year. My biggest question is, what was Jordan Ott's vision for this team offensively when it had Jalen Green, when it had Devin Booker, when it had Grayson Allen? Because we're still hopefully a week away from seeing that. And because I don't think they were counting on Dillon Brooks to be a 21 point scorer this year. So how do you fix it offensively without him? And then you hope everybody else can backstop the defense enough where you don't fall off a cliff there.
And that's how the shift that we talked about a little bit already happens. This kind of wild that this injury happens and we're seeing Jalen Green get back into form. Obviously, he had an off shooting night in that particular game, but we know that he's going to be a big option for them offensively, and he adds a lot of firepower, which we talked about, and getting Devin Booker back. And if you have those three guys together, then you can develop that type of offensive identity on the fly. The other part of it as well is you've done yourself a favor by being 33 and 24 through 57 games. At the time of this injury happening, you have 25 games left, so it's going to be a very interesting point of before and after that you can look back at this game against the Magic in which Dillon Brooks got hurt. That is what you get a little bit of peace from. There are going to be a few gimmies down the stretch of the season that you probably can win without Dillon Brooks. This is still a solid Suns team. It won't be easy. There's never an easy night in the NBA, and it got much harder without Dillon Brooks and what he means to this team. But from everything that we've seen about this team and from this team this season, they're going to try to find ways. And I think that the well running dry, you get a little bit of help from the sense of, okay, they know how to step up. Some guys know how to step up in spots. And because of the fluctuation of availability, it is some different guys being asked to step up, and the big one being Jalen Green. Obviously, not as a defender, but as a scorer, bringing that firepower can change this team.
What's going to happen? There's only one way to find out. That's to watch the rest of the season. We know the Suns team's going to fight. What do you think is going to happen over the final 25 games? Maybe all of them without Dillon Brooks. Obviously, PHNX Suns has you covered. The latest up-to-date news when it comes to injuries and everything going on with the Phoenix Suns at PHNX_Suns. And we have you covered pre- and post-game shows and watch-alongs for every game right here on this channel. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that like button. Let us know down in the comments below your thoughts on Dillon Brooks being out for an indefinite period of time with a broken hand, and we'll talk to you all very soon.